Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to him, the Blessed One, Worthy One, the fully enlightened Samma Sambuddha. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So, welcome to Thursday's discussion and meditation. So, today we will do the discussion first, and we have a story aligned to discuss, and we will learn through the story. Let's share the screen. So, you have the verses. These are from twin verses. So two verses go together from the words of the Dhammapada. That's a book that is popular in Buddhist culture. So these two verses, 7 and 8, is about the monk named Mahākāla. So Maha is an indication of senior. Kala is his name, and Kala can be a nickname also, but the Kala is also the word for the blueness, the darkness, and it may be an indication of how he appeared in terms of his complexion, but it doesn't matter how he looked and all that. And this verse goes as Subhanupasing viharantang indriyesu asangutang bhojanam hit amattanyung kusitang hina viriyang tang ve pasahati maro vato rukhang vadubbalang. And verse 8 goes as Asubhanupasing viharantang indriyesu susangutang bhojanam hicha mattanyung saddhang aradha viriyang tang venapasahati maro vato selang vapabbatang. And let's read the translation. One who beauty contemplates, whose faculties are unrestrained. In food, no moderation knows. He is languid, who is indolent. That one does Mara overthrow as wind a tree of little strength. So, let's see. Here we have the commentary on each word. Subhanupasing, dwelling on the attractiveness of sensual pleasure. So this is a habitual dwelling of most people, that you want to see good things, there is no danger in there, there's no harm doing that. But continuously indulging these make you forget about life's duties, especially for a monk. Viharantang means he who lives. Indriyesu asangutang, someone who is unguarded in their body. Indriya is the body, different sense doors. Bhojanam hicha amattanyum, immoderate in taking food. You know what happens to a person who is eating too much? And they get easily weakened and sick. Kusitang, lazy. Hina viryam, weak in making an effort. Low energy. Tang, that person, maro, Mara is equivalent of the devil, someone who is bringing you defilements. It's not done by somebody else, but the behavior of the person uh, cause the person to think in terms of defilements. That kind of a person is overpowered by the wind, by overpowered, just like a tree is overpowered by the wind, especially a weak tree. So that person who is making less effort in life, less effort for meditation, less effort to be honest and sincere in their actions, thinking, and words, become very weak. How weak does this person become? They become as weak as a weak tree that easily gets knocked down by a wind. And then the other verse is the opposite of it. That person is dwelling on the unattractiveness of sensual pleasure. So to cut off the bond with the sensuality. He who lives well guarded in senses and also moderate in eating and is devoted, has strong effort. That person, he has a strong mind, does not overpower the wind, just like a rocky mountain is not shaken by the wind. So you can see the two similes. One is a weak tree, and then the other one is a rocky mountain. So let's see who are the rocky mountains who are weak. Intention matters here. And you can also explore the images here. There's this one man who is indulging, eating so much of food, and you can look at the body, and he has not cared so much for his body. And on the other side, there is a monk meditating and eats just not that much food, but what is given to him, and he is moderate in eating. And the story is, this is a story that came from the city called Setavya, and the Buddha uttered these verses with reference to Mahākāla and his brother Chulakala. Maha is the senior one, Chula is the junior one. And they had a middle brother called Majjhimakāla. So junior Kala and middle Kala and senior Kala were three householders who lived in the city called Setavya. And they all traveled. No, actually, the middle one stayed, and the younger and the oldest one, they traveled in a caravan of 500 carts, caravan that is, bullock carts, and they bring home goods to sell. And Majjhimakala is the businessman. He sold the goods they brought. Now, on a certain occasion, the two brothers, taking wares of various kinds in their 500 carts, set out for Savatthi, another city. And then they were halting between Savatthi and Jetavana. Jetavana is the monastery where the Buddha lived. And then they released their carts for bullocks for the bulls to enjoy some freedom. And in the evening, while there, Mahākāla saw the disciples of the Buddha. In this story writer's language, he uses noble disciples, someone who is practicing the path to become a noble person. a resident of the city Savatthi, they had garlands in their hands and perfumes in their hands. And this is a gesture that they were going to listen to a religious teacher, going to hear the teachings. And Mahākāla stopped them and asked, "Where are you going?" Then the answer was that they were going to listen to the teachings of the Buddha. So he wanted to go. And he told his youngest brother, "Keep watch over the carts. I'm going to listen to the Dhamma. I'm going to listen to the teaching." So he went and paid obeisance to the Buddha and sat down in the outer circle of the group. On that day, the Buddha scanned his mind, observed this Mahākāla's mind, and saw the the status of his mind, state of his mind, and quoting a teaching on aggregate of suffering. So now suffering as an aggregate, things about aging and having to maintain a body and aggregate of feelings, all kinds of things that quickly change, and wanting something and not getting it, having to live with people that you don't like, and departing from those you love. These, the Buddha spoke about the way suffering hits a person. And discourses on evil doing and contamination of mind through sensual pleasure. So after listening to this teaching, Mahākāla became a monk. He wanted to explore little more. And Chulakala also became a monk, but his intention was that after a time I will return to the world and take my brother with me. So he had a different agenda, different intention. Sometimes later, Mahākāla went to the Buddha and asked, what duties are there for us? And the Buddha said, there are two things. You can either study the teaching or you can just meditate. So Mahākāla, being older in his body, he said, I'm too old for studying. I will just meditate. And he went to the monastery, and he chose a kind of meditation called cemetery meditation. That's the kind of meditation that some monks did at the time of the Buddha. So they go, like at that time, they throw the body to the charnel ground, and they ask the keeper of that cemetery to burn it overnight. So that's what they did. And monks can take permission from the gatekeeper and go there and watch the body burning and use it as an object of meditation to reflect on the repulsiveness of the body. So his choice indicates that he was struggling with sensual lust as he became a monk. And by looking at the decaying body and burning body and the beauty of it before and reflecting on the impermanence of actual body, he can overcome the sensual lust and see the reality that it is what it is, that they get decayed. And so when everyone was sleeping, he went to the cemetery, and at dawn, before anyone else had risen, he returned to the monastery. Because for a monk who is fulfilling such meditation goals, he has to be fully present, be doing all the chores like yogi jobs at the monastery, and be respectful of what other monks need. And that way, it is showing that he has not gone mad. His mindful, and he's very much keen on developing his mind and abandoning anything that bothers him uh, toward the path of when he's walking toward the path of purity in his mind. And then I'm sure the gatekeeper knew about this monk's intentions. Now, a certain young woman of some good look was attacked by a disease, and that very moment she died in the evening without sign of um, old age or weakness. So she was brought to her relatives brought her to the burning ground with firewood, oil, and other requisites, and said to the keeper of the burning ground, "Burn this body." And they paid the usual fee, and they turned the body over to the keeper and departed. And the keeper went to the monk straight away and said, "You see, there is this body. That will be a good meditation object for you." "Very well," said the monk. He went, and there was a white cloth covering that body, still with clothes that this woman was wearing, and he looked at it, and the body, was just fine. And then he said, "Throw this beautiful golden hued body into the fire. As soon as the fire has burnt it to some degree, come and tell me." So, that he was not going to stay there for the whole, his object was to reflect on repulsiveness of body on his own. And he said, "When the body is burnt, show me that picture as well. It will be helpful." And the monk was informed that the body is now burnt. Where the flames had touched the flesh, the color of her body was like that of a mottled cow. The feet stuck out and hung down. The hands were curled back. The forehead was without skin. The monk thought to himself, "This body, which but now caused those who looked thereon to forget the sacred truth." That, by looking at a beautiful body, you forget about your own, truth, that these bodies decay. And this monk, instead focused on the reality of it, and um, he went to his night dwelling and sat down. He started discerning clearly about decay and death, and then he developed spiritual insight. He was very serious and attained the sainthood that he became enlightened about. He cleansed all his impurities. And he also gained supernatural faculties. This means that he can levitate, and he can read other people's minds, and he can just disappear from one place and appear elsewhere. And his mind was so ready for that kind of attainment. I think the gatekeeper also did a gesture of act of loving kindness, knowing that this monk had true intention, that she also, it's apparently a woman who was the gatekeeper in this case, and she was supporting the monk. Come, there is this body. This may be useful for your meditation. It's like this lady who gave a meal to the ascetic Siddhartha, who became the Buddha, when he was really abandoning the self-mortification, giving pain to the body, thinking he abandoned that practice. Earlier, he thought it would help him become enlightened, but having done it to the maximum level, he gave up. And then he was ready to look within and do the meditation aspect to purify his mind. On that night, this woman came and offered a meal, and that was very helpful for him to regain his strength and meditate. It's like this cemetery ground keeper going to the monk and saying, here you go. This is what you wanted. Meditate on this. And Mahākāla became an enlightened monk, and he was traveling from place to place. Arrived at that time, the Buddha also was traveling from place to place, and entered the Simsapa forest. It's apparently Mahākāla was in that forest, and Buddha was traveling from place to place and came to the same place. Chulakala, his brother, hearing that the Buddha had arrived, thought to him, now we shall. Actually, Chulakala's wives. Chulakala is the younger one. He had many wives, and hearing that the Buddha had arrived, that means they are, in the area. Let's recover our husband. So they went and invited the Buddha. Their plan was to, now when a visit is expected from the Buddha, it is customary for a single monk to go in advance and give a notice. And Chulakala wanted to give that notice himself. He went and he asked, his wives to prepare alms, food to the Buddha. But his wives instead tore off his robes. And that means you are no longer a monk. Come and stay with us. So it was his intention anyway to quit robes and, stay a householder. So it was just done with consent. But Mahākāla's wives didn't know that Mahākāla had already become an enlightened monk. He had 8 wives, and they also wanted their husband to give up robes. And they also arranged an almsgiving. And the Buddha monks accepted this meal and left Mahākāla in the house to give the talk. This was an opportunity for the 8 wives to try, disrobe this monk. And the other monks were not happy about this. Other monks said, how come you do that? Earlier we lost one monk, his brother, but today you left Mahākāla. Apparently these monks didn't know that Mahākāla was an enlightened monk, that, quitting, he wouldn't quit robes. And so they were questioning, as you see here, what a thing for the Buddha to do. So this shows that monks were questioning some actions of the Buddha, not knowing the Buddha's intentions. Did he do it, thinking or unthinking? Yesterday we lost Chulakala. Today another monk. Mahākāla's wives tried to make him a layman, but he rose into the air through his psychic power as an enlightened monk and appeared before the Buddha, while the Buddha recited these 2 verses. And the monk Mahākāla paid obeisance to the Buddha, and the Buddha told the other monks that they were wrong about Mahākāla, to compare him with Chulakala. That Chulakala never practiced any meditation. He was just killing his time and enjoying, while Mahākāla was very serious about his intention, and he went to the goal. So that's
well, he had a plan right from the beginning.
Yes,
that he wasn't going to stay. He was going to make his brother come back with him, but it was too late.
Exactly.
He was already enlightened, so that was the end of that.
Yeah. All right, so let's.
This is not something I'm familiar with, so it's interesting to learn about it. I'm very open.
I think about that every time I read a name or read a story for you, and I wonder, how you connect with these. Gradually, you will notice that stories are very different from the stories that you have heard and lived with. But it's interesting.
Well, actually, it is very interesting. And I am invested in learning about it. I am probably not going to turn out to be a nun, or you can't be a monk. And my sense of other forms of religion are they don't focus enough on the things that I have felt as a layperson that Buddhism focuses on, which is much more about alleviating. So this is just my perspective to give you some insight into how I think about it, is about alleviating suffering, about having a positive thought with hope for how you go forward, because things only get worse when you don't. Not spending all your time judging and comparing to other people, and not all this punishing, which I associate. I grew up in the Catholic religion, and I have to be honest with you, I was so done with that from a very long time ago. I believe when you do nice things and you say nice things, and I come from a family, well, they still had interest, my parents, in Catholicism. It was always much more about when there's a problem as a family and then with others, the question is, well, how can I help? Is there a way I can help? And not at the exclusiveness of forgetting about yourself. So it's interesting to me, and I'm interested in the stories, because basically every religion is based on some form of storytelling.
Yeah.
Because it's by example. And so that's where I am. And I have to be honest with you, it is the meditation. It is very interesting. I like the two parts. And I'm not just saying that to you. I came to it because of the meditation, because I like that whole idea of clearing your mind. And I'm very susceptible, apparently, to being able to clear my mind, because I've always done some form of that. But yours is very focused in a way that, I have to be honest with you, my job is only to clear my mind rather than adjust for it, listen to it, those kinds of things. So thank you.
Very nicely put. I can give a detailed answer, but I don't think you are expecting, you were even asking a question. You were sharing your experience.
No, I wasn't asking a question. I was trying to give a little insight, since you seemed interested in how I saw it.
Yes. And I'm very glad.
And people choose different lifestyles.
Yes.
Yours is different than mine, and I think that's a good thing.
Yes. I think the message is very clearly, as you said, clear your mind. Every time when we clear the mind, we can always ask the question, where is my attachment? When I'm here, when I'm there, when I'm thinking, when I'm talking, where is my attachment? How best can I purify this mind? And that way, you see, like in the case of the Buddha, he wasn't talking always about repulsiveness of the body and suffering at all. He was giving us a path. There is happiness, and this is highest happiness that you can travel. That becomes your path as even looking at the repulsiveness of body. Imagine for a person who is cheating on her partner. This kind of practice will be helpful for them to just let go of that strong desire and then focus on that one life, one person. And that means their life, this meditation, this kind of insight is to beautify your life.
The idea of the balance makes sense to me, and how you attain balance.
How you retain, and the sustainability of that relationship. So there's insight that comes with the practice. We will do some meditation.
Okay,
if you don't mind, including the repulsiveness of the body as well. That way, a little bit, not too much into that detail, but more breathing and gradually seeing the beauty of seeing the truth of the body as for what it is. So, great. Thank you, Daniel. You will hear the gong 3 times. You may close your eyes and adjust your body and feel the ground beneath. Take a deep breath in, making nest of your body. In that nest, you are very comfortable, warm, and nice, with a gentle smile on your face. Your head and neck resting on your spine. You may now begin noticing your breath, applying mindfulness to your breath. You breathe in mindfully and breathe out mindfully. Inviting calmness, tranquility. You focus on your breath as, as you breathe in and breathe out. You are mindful and calm. Notice your shoulders as they support your in breath and out breath in a way, slowly and gradually moving and adjusting to the changes of your breath. Since your eyes closed, there is no distraction from seeing, and you are also switching off hearing, smelling, tasting, physical sensations, and thinking. Just letting things be. Can ask a simple question. Where do you feel your breath? Your in-breath goes through your nostrils all the way to the lungs. And take a deep breath in. What did you notice as you breathe out? Try again. Deep breath in. Notice the shoulders, back of your body, relaxing as you breathe in and breathe out. As you feel secure and not tensed in this present being, notice your surroundings, very supportive of your meditation. So you have gratitude, positive emotion, as if you are saying thank you to this environment that is supporting you right now to attain more and more tranquility, wisdom, and calmness. Notice in any part of your body where there is any agitation, you may adjust and you apply a little bit of loving kindness there, mindfulness there. You know the remedy is to come to this breath that is happening in this moment, knowing that the breath is not happening in the past or in the future. Very subtle movements of your breath, they happen right here, right now. Mindfully you breathe in, mindfully you breathe out. Mindfully and slowly you breathe in and breathe out. Noticing the progression, the gradual increasing and decreasing. You breathe in and breathe out. Notice any tranquility at the back of your head, on your face, your disappearing sensations of your arms, shoulders. So you continue to stay mindful, stay with your breath with the intention to relax further and further. This helps you to stay focused, aware, but not one-pointed. but rather collected, unified in your mind with the support of your breath, something that has no color, no form, and brings your awareness to here and now. Noticing the air you breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Taking a long breath, you know you are taking a long breath. Inhaling a long breath, you know you are inhaling a long breath. You may increase your awareness through looking at inhaling and exhaling. Long breath. Sometimes occasionally short experience of your breath. This way, the wandering mind begins to settle in the body and let the body be, and the radiance of the mind become so independent. Short or long, you are still looking at the body, somewhat away from the body, like there's a torchlight on your body. It wisely reflecting on its components made of 4 elements. Those elements that are unbreakable easily, liquid elements, air elements, that there is heat and space, and these we call our body. It has nails that we cut, beautify, polish. If we didn't care for the nails, imagine what our bodies would look like. Hair, skin, teeth, bone, that are grayed and colored and yellowed, connected with sinews. If we didn't clean the body, the odor, the disgust that we feel when we sometimes experience that from other people, and we think in our minds, this person should take a shower and clean their body, comb the hair, stay neat and clean. Notice that reaction in your mind. Is there any attachment in that moment when we want somebody to be different from what they are? What helped there was to catch it sooner with mindfulness. So we don't say a word, we don't have a thought, we have equanimity. With equanimity, there is no need to be sad, no need to be angry. Imagine a mind that is free from anger. Instead, live in equanimity without judging, without reacting whatsoever. Knowing the truth about this body, there's no need to claim it as mine or theirs. Some people go through illnesses, disown their bodies. They can't bear the pain. So we cultivate the mind, equanimity sooner to prepare ourselves for such situations. No wealth may come with us, but our realization, wisdom, will help us to stay detached from any pain, any suffering, noticing how the attachment for things wanting to be this way and that way can cause restlessness in the mind that hinders your purity of your mind. So treating restlessness, these attachments as broken pieces of a beautiful glass without stepping on them, we clean the ground of the mind so it feels safe, non-spiky, clean, fearless, wise, a place for wise abiding. With that intention in mind, let us revisit our breath and stay silent as we breathe in and staying with the breath through and through. In about 3 minutes, you will hear the bell and we will end this meditation. With share merits. May the suffering one be suffering free, fear struck, fearless be. May the grieving shed all grief, may all beings find relief. May all beings share this merit that we have thus acquired for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness. May beings inhabiting space and earth, devas and nagas of mighty power, share this merit of ours. And they long protect you and protect the Buddha's teachings. And sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.